Hey everyone, this is Joe Ree again, and welcome to part two of the telling of my story, why you got screws in your brains. Um, I want to pick up right where I left off yesterday, and that was on September 11th, 1984. Again, like I said, I was 14. I was playing football for my junior high school, and it was in fact just a practice. And I hadn't mentioned it earlier in the day while we were practicing. Another one of my teammates named Tim, I won't say his last name, and Tim, you're out there, you know who you are, got his ankle broke. I think it was ankle. Forgive me, Tim, I don't remember exactly, but it was pretty gruesome. I remember him screaming and howling on the field and how much pain he was in, and I kept thinking to myself, man, I hope something like that does not ever happen to me. And, well, it didn't. Unfortunately, it was something a little different. So back to on the field and recap. I was talking to my coach, laughing with him. I turn around, I see the tight end catch the football, and he runs right at me. And instinctively, I go up to make the tackle. And granted, I was probably a little sluggish throughout the day. I hadn't practiced the week before because my knee was twisted, so I was really trying hard to get back in shape because we were playing our rival on Thursday, Oregon Trail. It's our biggest game of the year, and it's early in the season, so everybody's geared up, everybody's motivated, everybody's intense to do the best they can. So I was no different, and I certainly didn't want my coaches to think that I couldn't step up and do what they asked of me. So here he comes, man. I run up to him, and like I said, I broke the cardinal rule of football. I just lowered my head, and his thigh hit the top of my head, snapped it back, and I flew through the air. And this is something I remember very vividly. I remember feeling like everything went slow motion, and at the moment I hit the field, the only thing that I felt was my head. And the reality is the reason for that is that my body had gone instantly numb. As soon as my head hit his thigh, my neck snapped, and that the brain signal shut off to the rest of my body, and vice versa. So that's why I only felt my head whiplash. So it was really odd. And then, like I said, I'm laying there and I'm spread eagle on the field, and the first thing I think is where are my arms? I can't feel my arms. I can't breathe. My teammates, they all come running, and my coach, by this time, get back, give him some air. And so I look up at my coach, and I tell him, I can't move, I can't feel my arms. And so he starts talking to me about, hey, do you remember last year there was a kid for the School of the Deaf? You remember that game that was on this field? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, he had a pinched nerve, and maybe that's what this is. So relax. We're going to take care of you. And what I didn't know is while he was doing that, one of the other coaches was taking a needle and he was sticking it in my leg and in my foot. And they had taken off my shoe, and I wasn't responding. I wasn't responding to them pulling hairs out of my legs. So they knew something was up. Me, like I said yesterday, I still felt like at any given moment I was just going to hop up because I always got up. I always got up. It just never occurred to me that this was going to be different until he said, hey, we called an ambulance. And that's when I got scared. That's when that wave of fear came crashing down on top of me like I've never felt before. And I've been scared, but I've never been this scared in my life. And so, they're still talking to me, and it seemed like, again, forever until the paramedics got there. And by this time, all my teammates had left the field, and I'm still laying there. And then all of a sudden I look over, and there's my stepfather. I'm like, what is he doing here? Why is he here? He wasn't at practice. What was he doing here? They had called my family naturally, and we didn't live that far. So, it was only like five minutes away, but that scared me even more. So when the paramedics finally get there and they come out, they do the same on-field test, and they ask me a barrage of questions. What day is it? How old are you? what's going on. And I answered all those questions, but I just kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. I know I shouldn't have lowered my head. And they're like, stop. Don't worry about that. And they pull out that long backboard. And 5 or 6 guys like hold my head and helmet and my feet and bodies, and they roll me over and they slide the backboard underneath and they lay me back down and they belt me down. They tape my forehead down. And for those of you that have watched football before, this is the worst moment ever on the field. This is like the scariest moment for coaches, players, fans, family members. This is the one moment they don't want to see. And I was living it. At the last second, as they were lifting me up, I remember the paramedic saying, hey, if it takes you an hour, I don't want you to hit any bump. I don't want you to hit anything that could cause the ambulance to jerk or jump around. And so they loaded me in, and I believe my coach jumped in there with me. And again, remember, this is September 11th of 84, so it was 32 years ago. It's been a long time. As I got to the hospital, and they start wheeling me out, and they pull out the ambulance and drop the thing down, the first person that's there waiting for me is my mother. I had seen my mom look at me a lot of different ways in my life and given me many different looks. But I'd never seen this look. I'd never seen this face. It was a face of terror and fear and confusion. Of course, here's her son, paralyzed. I'm not breathing. They have an air mask over me. I'm not obviously moving. And it was really scary for her. As an adult, as a parent, I now get the fear that she must have been going through, because I can't imagine my own child going through this. And then as I was being wheeled into the ER, my friend Tim was being wheeled out in his wheelchair with his leg in a cast. Very strange day, to say the least. So they take me into the hospital room, and at this moment, this is 1984. This is before the Miami Project, before the Christopher Reeve Foundation. Spinal cord injury and research wasn't really as in the forefront. So they were really confused on how do we take his helmet off without hurting or injuring his neck? What about his shoulder pads without having to move his body? Because moving the neck or body, it could be critical at this moment. Any wrong movement, a little tiny fragment of bone can shift and slide in your cord, and that's it. You're done. There's no recovery. So they were all nervous. But they figured it out. My coach was there, and he helped them take off my stuff, and then I went into x-rays. So I'm going to leave it there, because from there it goes on. Of course, I get transferred, but thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying this. This is part 2. I'll give you part 3 tomorrow. Thanks. You all have a great day. Peace.